Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans. And when you get someone with an IQ of about 25, like Dlamini-Zuma, coming up with the concept of district development model, you know that there is someone working behind the scenes feeding the future of South Africa, who have nothing to do with the interests of the population of South Africa. This is the New World Order. This is Open Society Foundation. This is George Soros and his mates at Wall Street. What am I talking about? Well, Dlamini-Zuma has come up with this new model for governance in South Africa. I mean, really? This woman couldn't cook a scrambled egg. You know, she's intellectually challenged. And here she is coming up with this whole new model for governance in South Africa. This is BS. This is how South Africa is having the carpet stripped from underneath it by people from outside the country, run by the Open Society Foundation. All their little activists back in the background feeding this information and these ideas to these so-called members of parliament. They are nothing more than little... Remember what you used to call the kids who used to just run around and do your bidding? Yeah. That's what they are. Let me add a bit of meat to the bone, so you know what I'm talking about. Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, or Cogta, Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, says that government is working on the rollout of its new District Development Model, DDM. Government is working on the rollout? It's not the government. This is not the government. This is people very well connected to the New World Order. Let's continue with what it says. In a presentation on Tuesday, the 8th of September, Dlamini-Zuma said that over the past 20 years, a local government has not adequately fulfilled its role, especially as it relates to economic development. No. Especially as it equates to service delivery. And do you know why? Because the ANC cadres who've been put in there, the black privileged who've been put in there, are just after one thing, and that is themselves. And it comes with a big C, the C word, corruption, rampant throughout the municipalities. And nobody can argue that fact, but somehow in these articles by the mainstream media in South Africa, somehow that gets shelved totally out of the picture. This is why the South African mainstream media are so fake and so corrupted. Let's continue. Dlamini-Zuma added that the pedestrian growth which the country has registered over the past decade was simply not enough to ensure employment and income for a majority of the people. Well, do you know why it was like that? It's because you, black privileged ANC at the top, have been stealing everything. And here they're trying to make out that a new governance model will fix everything. You know, it's rather like, I'm thinking of the old bull with a thing through its nose. That's what they're doing. These Open Society Foundation guys, they've got the bull and they've got the chain and they're pulling it along. The ANC politicians are being totally deceived, but they're happy because they're making lots of money at the expense of everybody else in South Africa. That's how deceitful they are. They don't care. As long as I'm looking good. Look at Lindiwe Sisili, the video I put out the other day where her kids were playing around the pool. The comments of people who were not so black privileged. underneath her tweet say it all. These people are totally out of touch with what's going on in South Africa. Anyway, this incredibly smart genius of a woman, Dlamini-Zuma, said, to address and facilitate for better coordination and integration, government has adopted the new district development model. All it means is they can go and screw some more money out of taxpayers, ratepayers, and everybody else. Nothing has changed at the top because the whole of South Africa is sadly a gangster state. And we have to look no further than the South African Police Service. Oh my God, what a joke that is. And where is discussion by the media on the impact of the economy, on what the economic freedom fighters are doing right now to South Africa by attacking organizations like cliques, petrol stations, even hospitals like in Uitenhage? This is why the country is in such a mess. But the tragedy is that those at the top, the L factor, the logic factor, is completely gone. It's missing in action. There's so many examples of this. Totally irrational decisions. Anyway, let's continue with what she says. Dlamini-Zuma, the visionary Dlamini-Zuma, said that the new model will provide for a more tangible common vision for development of the country. By adopting a long-term view and interconnecting the local economies, we are able to reimagine a better community, district, and nation. Now, look, I'm not a betting man, but I would bet my entire assets with anyone that she didn't say that. Those were words that were penned by the people behind the scenes who are actually running South Africa. The New World Order. And what you've got there is like rabbits on the old treadmill. You know how rabbits go on the treadmill? That's what she is. She's a rabbit on the treadmill, or a rat on the treadmill is probably more relevant. She's a rat on the treadmill, and as long as the money keeps coming into her little bank account, she doesn't care. She has absolutely no interest in the voter base of the ANC. Yeah, South Africa is totally screwed by this corrupt gangster ANC government. Anyway, let's continue. Dlamini-Zuma said that the new model will provide for a more tangible, common vision for development of the country. By adopting a long-term view and interconnecting the local economies, we are able to reimagine a better community, district, and nation. As I said, there's no way in a million years she could have penned those words. No ways. This is so deceptive. But Business Tech report, she said that government further plans to locate each district's competitive advantage and utilize it for shared growth and prosperity. Bullshit. She doesn't even know what that means. Now we're talking about a thing called district hubs. My God, this woman is complete and utter genius. No, actually she's complete and utter bullshit. This is not her idea. This is Open Society Foundation's idea. They're the organization running South Africa, and that's why the minority groups in South Africa better wake up, because the same guy funding Open Society Foundations, George Soros, is the man behind Black Lives Matter in the United States of America. I think you're starting to get my drift. Anyway, this genius of a woman with an IQ of about 42 says, to assist at a local level government, Dlamini-Zuma said that government plans to employ skilled people at district hubs so that they may all avail shared skills which local municipalities lack. Now, what she doesn't say there is that as long as they are of a particular skin color, and that does not include the minority groups, because it comes back to black economic empowerment or black embezzlement at the top by these very same people like Dlamini-Zuma. This is where the great tragedy is going on in South Africa. It's ripping the country apart. She went on to say, these hubs form part of the district's capacity and will link the localities to provinces and national departments where all the corruption takes place. The hubs will also house critical and scarce skills such as engineers, planners, ICT specialists, and administrators to the district and local municipalities. Now let's remember, earlier this week, the ICT companies were informed that if they didn't meet a certain BEE criteria, they would go out of business. Doesn't matter how competent the person is you bring in to get your little stamp that says BEE compliant, as long as you've got enough black people in the organization or enough black equity in the organization, everything will be fine. This is the most racist country in the world. Talk about reverse racism. This is South Africa 2020. It is a complete and utter disgrace. And the mainstream media, this fits their narrative perfectly because they want to destroy the fabric of what was once a very sound country. This is how they're undermining South Africa. And they're doing it by stealth, by being the advisors to the ANC members of parliament who are coming out with a crap like you hear with Dlamini-Zuma. She doesn't know what the heck is going on. I nearly used the F word there, but I'm sorry guys, I can't. I just can't. But let's continue. Dlamini-Zuma said that these hubs are currently being trialled at 3 pilot sites across the country. Waterberg in Limpopo, eThekwini in KwaZulu-Natal, and Oliver Tambo in the Eastern Cape, or OR Tambo in the Eastern Cape, which will impact over 10% of the population, the majority of whom are the poorest in the country. And guess what? They're going to get poorer. Because that is the agenda of the New World Order. They want everyone absolutely scraping around to survive, because then they can make them do whatever they want. And South Africa is right in their headlights. Wow. Dlamini-Zuma said, the ownership and management structure of these economies are a microcosm of South Africa. She went on to say, this genius of a woman with the IQ of 42 who comes up with all these statements. No way. This is when you know that the BS is hitting the fan. She says, with the rich mineral and floral resources of Waterberg, the majority of the land is owned by a handful of white males. There we go. Here comes the race card, guys. Here comes the race card. This is what open society foundations are doing to your country. Seriously, something has to be done about anyone who has links with Open Society Foundation in South Africa. And it's not going to happen while the ANC are in power. Let's continue. This genius of a Dlamini-Zuma went on to say, despite its captivating wild coast, which is abundant with potential, only 15% of the people in OR Tambo are employed, and the overwhelming majority of 65% live in poverty, the majority of whom are women who constitute 53% of the population. Now don't try and blind me with stats, asshole. You know what you can do, Dlamini-Zuma? Yeah, you've reached the pits of the bottom. You can go and pog my horn. Look it up, Dumbo. The reason why so many people are unemployed in South Africa today is because of the gangster ANC state. Nothing else. And you are right in the middle of this. Jacob Zuma was your husband. What did he do for South Africa? He effed it up. You join the dots. Anyway, she continues by saying, eThekwini displays the apartheid spatial planning patterns with the majority living far from work, spending close to 20% of their income on transport, whereas the international norm is less than 10% of income. Now, okay, you don't have to be a genius to know that she didn't do the research. This is like Ace Magashule, who shot up to Zimbabwe earlier this week without an agenda, not knowing what he was doing, and ZANU-PF just threw him back into the hole and said, middle finger, suck it up, buttercup, go back home, we're not interested. This is how smart these ANC guys are, and these statements are being attributed by the media to Dlamini-Zuma. You have to have holes in your head if you believe that she's actually saying this. As I said, this is Open Society Foundation, George Soros, who is funding Black Lives Matter around the world, who is actually running the ANC government today. And this is scary, because this man is a psychopath. Anyway, Dlamini-Zuma said, government will therefore use the DDM to reimagine the future of all 44 districts and the 8 metros across the country, starting with the profiling of localities. She said, we have now completed the profiles of all the 52 districts. We. Who's we? Who's we? Who's we, Dlamini-Zuma? This is the operative word. We have now completed the profiles of all the 52 districts. You know who we is? Open Societies Foundation. This has nothing to do with the people you voted into power. These are the guys under George Soros's watch. They're running the country right now. It's absolutely tragic. Anyway, she continued by saying, this means we are now at a point where we have a good understanding of the major developmental issues in all our districts. And this genius of a woman with a 42 IQ said, this was a critical step in the process of the implementation of the district development model, because we now know what we need to do to improve the quality of the lives of our people. What a load of crap. You know, if it squeaks like a rat, if it looks like a rat, if it smells like a rat, if it's as devious as a rat, it's a rat. And the ANC make a rat look like a saint. They are just absolutely revolting. And Dlamini-Zuma epitomizes the ANC. As I said, with her IQ, there's absolutely no way she could have come up with this. These are the guys in the shadows in South Africa. They walk the hallways of the union buildings and the parliament, and they're the ones who are running the show, like Professor Ruth Hall at PLAS, who is putting forward all the policy for the expropriation of land and assets without compensation. And guess who funds PLAS? You got it in one. Open Society's Foundation, i.e. George Soros. This is not a democracy, guys. This is worse than an oligarchy, because you've got a man who doesn't even live in the country who is bringing the country to its knees. And happily so, because it's so much easier for him and his New World Order cronies to just walk in there and say, we're going to save your skins, you don't have to starve, but now you have to do what we say. What happened to democracy? Good question. But Dlamini-Zuma said that the district model will also see budget changes across government, with the ultimate goal of unifying finances into a singular budget. She said the district development model will be implemented throughout the specialization and reprioritization of each and every department, state entity, and municipality's plans and budgets, which means that you'll have more black privilege coming in there and looting more money. Because this is where you got the great chasm. You got Open Society Foundation knowing that they're going to bring South Africa down by what they're actually proposing here. And on the other hand, you got the politicians, the ANC cadres, the black privilege who are saying, whoa, here's an opportunity to rip off another 1 trillion rand. And that's exactly what the Open Society Foundation want them to do. Bring the country down to its knees where it cannot be saved. And then they'll walk in there and say, okay, now it's time for the adults in the room to take over. This is what the minority groups should have been saying, not now, a couple of years ago. There's still time to save the boat, but look, these ANC cadres, they are so out of depth, they drowned years ago. And what have they drowned on? Taxpayers' money. They are absolutely lapping it up while the judicial system is so concocted and so corrupted and so incompetent and so absolutely useless that they get away with it. Because they put their own cadres into the NPA, the Hawks, and all the organizations that are supposed to monitor this sort of shit. And Ramaphosa can sing away and say how wonderful they're going to do looking into corruption, and believe me, it'll only be the low-hanging fruit, or the ANC cadres that have found disfavor with those who are running the country. The Ace Magashulas, the David Mabuzas, all these other corrupt senior ANC politicians, they'll never go to court. That's a no-brainer. Anyway, in conclusion, this genius of a woman, Dlamini-Zuma, with an IQ of just 42, says, the one plan which will inform the one budget is an intergovernmental strategic framework for investment and delivery in relation to the district and metropolitan places. She doesn't even know what a metropolitan place is. But here she is putting this plan together which goes into all sorts of little technical stuff. This is BS at its highest. She said, the district development model is all about how we work together as one government in all our district and metropolitan spaces, even if each sphere, sector or entity has its distinct, interrelated and interdependent constitutional powers, functions and responsibilities. And she concluded by saying, in this case, working together means planning, budgeting and implementing as one, while we hold each other accountable along the process. Don't you love that? We hold each other accountable along the process. Now, Dlamini-Zuma, here's a wake-up call. Holding each other accountable means actually making sure that you do the right thing. You show me one member of parliament sitting in the ANC who has done the right thing for their voter base. Just one. Just one. Just one. You're all on the take. You're not accountable. This is a complete and utter scam. You are a disgrace. You should be behind bars for life, Dlamini-Zuma. And believe me, if you're in a country like Australia or in the United States or a first world country just about anywhere, you would not be in government. You would be behind bars right now for the rest of your life. But South Africa, as I said before, is a gangster state. And it's about time the majority, the silent majority of John and Glovers, who are sitting there in their little shack in the townships thinking, WTF, what's going on here? Why aren't things getting better? It's time they just had that light bulb moment and realized where the problem is. Because we depend on you. We depend on you to throw this corrupt ANC government out of power. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video. Please share this video. And above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.